Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of Mixed Emotions. My name's Courtney Ivy, and this is my husband.
Nicholas Ivy.
We wanted to start doing a podcast slash YouTube channel to keep up with current events, politics, social problems, all of the things that are impacting our everyday lives.
So, where are we gonna start?
Um, I wanted to start out with just introducing ourselves and kind of talking about like what it's like to be in an interracial relationship and how we've had to deal with racism throughout our relationship thus far. Okay, so we got together in 2010. One of our mutual friends set us up. Um, I was working at PetSmart as a dog trainer,
And I was a
and
truck driver at where was I at? I believe I was at
Eureka.
Eureka Water. It was a water company. I was a truck driver, water boy.
So we got married in 2012,
Okay, I'll let you say that.
September 29th of 2012.
I'm gonna keep letting her say that.
um, so what do you remember about meeting me or our first interaction?
To be honest, I didn't know what to think until I walked around the corner
Oh,
and you just happened to be bent over. I'm not trying to be funny, but that's just what happened. And it was more like, damn. Oh, just be cool, man. Just be cool. Hey, hello. My name is such and such. I'm not sure if I said my name correct, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But I'm just giving you the real of what I thought. And you asked me what I thought, and I'm going to tell you. And I'm like, damn, look at all that ass. So when I seen it, I was like, well, it's got great potential behind her. So let's see what happens when she speaks. You know, if she sound dumb, I'm just gonna walk off.
wow.
And guess what? You didn't sound dumb.
Didn't sound dumb, apparently.
No, no, no.
Um, I kind of knew, well, our friend set us up, so I kind of knew he was coming, but I didn't know when or where he was going to pop up at. So it was kind of surprised that he was there. And then he gave me his number, but it was around Thanksgiving.
Yes,
So
yes.
like we had that holiday in between before we could go on our like first official date.
Yeah, because it was like what, right before the holiday
It
weekend,
was
and
right
you
after I turned 21.
don't tell nobody that
So
because I didn't know that. I was like,
so
oh Jesus, this girl just
he
21,
was you were 30?
29 and 30 to 30.
You were 30. Yeah. So I had just turned 21 and he was 30. And so he didn't know that I was 21.
I should have known by the. No, wait. Now I should have known by the friend that hooked us up how old you was because he likes younger girls, and I was like, I should have known. I should have known. I wouldn't even think it correctly. And I
Your
actually,
fault.
and let's just be for real. Um, I this relationship almost didn't work. I was contemplating this whole time. Um, how do I break this off? Because she's too young for me. I'm at it. I'm like, I'm 30 years old. She's just now old enough to drink. I'm not sure she can even like stick with me intellectually or anything like that. Like we'll have the different conversations or whatever. But then she proved me wrong on that one. That's just how that worked.
Yeah. So we went on our first date at another friend's house that I didn't know. And so it was his friend.
Shane
Yeah.
Jones, yes.
Just
Football,
name dropping.
yeah.
Um,
What up, Shane?
um, so I guess we can say John Robinson said or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's fine.
so we watched the Bedlam OU versus OSU game
Mm-hmm.
for our first date.
Yeah, yeah.
And he left his cell phone at Shane's house, so I didn't know if he like hated me or What? But I think
Right,
you
right.
Facebook messaged me.
Yeah, yeah. Just make sure you got
Yeah.
home.
He's like,
I was on a motorcycle at the time, and actually I rode bikes at the time. Me and my brother, and I didn't have nothing to carry on my phone and stuff like that. So sometimes I left my phone on accident a lot of places. So I was like, don't let me. This girl showed up. She's beautiful, and she was actually nice. And I in a lot of ways I test women. I was in a dating scene for a little bit, but I test women when I meet them is if they'll eat. Like like a lot of women, you'll take them on a date and they'll be like, oh, just touch a little bit of the salad. No, 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 that's not real.
I
You
don't,
know it.
I don't have a problem eating,
No,
obviously.
if you'll sit down and have a dinner and talk with me and eat your meal, I mean, hey, you that right there is like door number one. Oh, she'll eat. Oh, okay. So she's not really trying to be too fake. So let's dive in some more. That was my thought.
And I think Shane just had like, party food. So it was like chips and queso and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
coffee, which,
All the good
all the
stuff.
good stuff.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah.
So we
um,
we hooked up. No, we didn't hook up. Wait.
we did not hook
Wait, wait.
up.
I know her parents are gonna see this eventually. Yeah, she was a good girl. And
Yeah.
take it easy now.
I don't even think we kissed.
No, 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 no,
No,
no,
yeah.
no,
No.
no.
That was just like.
I mean, I was looking at you cute. You was trying. I mean, I don't look cute now. My haircut is horrible. Uh,
We just got off the lake, so don't judge too hard.
no, no. Long story short, we've been talking about doing this podcast for 2 or 3 months now, and we just keep saying it and saying it, saying it. So I'm like, you know what? My wife, she's like, hey, I'm just gonna get the computer. We're gonna do it. We're gonna start today. We're gonna start our first subject today, and however it looks, however it goes, is our first one. We'll post it, and they'll get better going down the road. So
Right. And I'm a perfectionist, so I was scared to do this because I know it's not going to be perfect.
no,
So
but
that's
we're
why
real
it took us
people.
so long.
We actually have a 9-month-old right within
As-
arm's length of us right
Asleep.
now, out of camera shot, asleep, and she's teething and she's running a small fever. She was just on my chest just a minute
In the
ago.
first segment.
In the first segment. So
Yeah.
actually, that's why I was so low down in the picture because I had a baby on my chest and we was making sure she felt better. But we just laid her down for the night and then now we get started. So real people
Right.
have real jobs. We have kids and have things to do.
We actually have 4 kids.
4 kids.
Yeah. We have an 18-year-old, a 17,
So
about to
about to
be
be
18-year-old
18-year-old.
in four
Yes.
days, and
Wow.
and a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. So
Yes.
3 boys, 1 girl.
Yes. I started over.
He started over. Yes, that's what happens when you marry younger people.
She beats me.
I don't beat him. So our first episode, we kind of just wanted to talk about what we've dealt with being in an interracial relationship. So a lot of people like to pretend that racism doesn't exist anymore. And I just wanted to throw out some personal stories to bring awareness to it, I guess. Is that what you would
Yeah,
say?
yeah. I mean, I can see from where you come from, small town Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
You might have seen a little bit of racism in high school, maybe guys running around in Confederate flag and stuff like that. But to see it and actually experience it once you marry a black man or a black woman, and you live together, you have kids, you have different situations that pop up.
Mm-hmm.
That's experiencing it. Then you'd be like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? Oh,
Right.
that's what that is. That's how y'all felt y'all's whole life.
Right.
I'm learning it now that once I've married to a
Well,
person of
see,
color.
and I grew up in Van Buren, Arkansas, but the city or town right next to us was Fort Smith, and one of their high schools, their mascot was a rebel, and so the rebel flag was their like mascot. So
Yeah.
I never thought anything about it. It wasn't. I don't know. It didn't seem out of the norm for me to like we didn't talk about what it meant because I mean, on my side of the family, like I've got my dad's from Chicago, my mom's from Van Buren, Arkansas.
Ain't that
So,
weird? Ain't that
so
weird? How
like the north and south,
different sides of the
the
U.S. Those people
line, the
come
Mason
together.
Dixon, yeah. So, yeah, I've got on both sides of my family. I've got people that fought for the Union and people that fought for the South during the war,
How'd
during the
you learn
Civil
about that?
War. I'm on Ancestry. I did a DNA
Okay,
test and I did a tree and all that fun stuff.
that's a cup you made me spit in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I'm on there
you
too.
did 23 and
Oh,
me.
23 me. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I
okay.
did Ancestry.
Of course,
So,
I have descendants of slaves.
of
Look
course.
at me.
So,
No haircut, nothing. Just
so yeah. So I mean, that wasn't something I really understood until I asked you about it. I think you're the first person I talked about, like, why is this offensive to you? Why should it be offensive to me? What do I need to understand about it? Um, so on our honeymoon, we actually had an incident. We live in Oklahoma. We live in Oklahoma now, and you know when we first got together, I think I was jobless, so we didn't have just like tons of money to go on a
oh
really,
no, no,
yeah,
no, no,
a really expensive fancy honeymoon.
no, no. We absolutely
So
not. I was a water boy. Just
yeah,
I sold
and I was
water.
jobless, so yeah, we didn't have tons of money. So we I think we went back to Fort Smith just to like hang out,
Hmm.
um, just to relax. You wanted to go to that casino down there and play.
Yes, I'm a gambler. Uh,
So
Poker's my game.
and I like to take naps. So while he was playing poker, I was napping.
Right,
So
right.
we did what we do on our honeymoon. But one of the nights we went to a little burger joint. I forget what it's called. It's like Benson's or something like that. But it's right by Northside High School, which is in Arkansas. It's still kind of segregated. At least it was when I went to high school. So like Northside was the poor slash minority high school, and Southside is like the richer white high school. But this
Schools are still
restaurant,
like that here.
yeah, they're still
They're
like
like that
that
in
here
Oklahoma
too.
too.
Um, so we went to a little burger joint right by Northside.
A good burger.
It was a very good burger. But when we went in there, we sat down. I think we sat down at the bar, like at the
Hmm.
front.
Hmm.
They have like a little bar, and then they had chairs surrounding like the outer sides of the restaurant. And we sat down at the bar, and I don't know if that guy was already there or if he came in after us, but a guy came in with one of his friends or his son, um, and he did not like the fact that we were together.
Yeah.
So,
And let me put this in further context of the fact that this guy had no teeth in his mouth.
right, when he
Like he
talked, he
whistled.
whistled. Yes. So he
Is that a
refused.
stereotype
What?
of
Being from Arkansas, being
racist,
toothless.
podunk, toothless,
No,
backwoods?
no, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be.
Man, I think it is.
Okay,
If anybody would see like a hillbilly type that's missing the
hillbilly.
front
Yeah.
two or three teeth, and he whistles when he talks, and he's mad because there's a black person in his hamburger joint, yeah, that he got to be a hillbilly.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm from Arkansas,
we're
so
gonna go ahead and say
it
that.
happens. So,
And if you watching this, if you catch this, which you probably never will, but I wish you would. Yeah, I called you hillbilly.
no, but anyway, so he got mad that we were there. His son, I think, initially like sat down at the bar with
Hmm.
us, and then he came up and said some N words and stuff like that, and moved to the other side of the restaurant and sat down. And there was a table behind us of people that like apologized for them or like, hey, we're not all like that and blah blah blah. But That was like
That was her first
that was
experience.
our first experience as a married couple.
Now
So
let me get this straight. I didn't hear them say the N word. Now other people did,
yes,
but it's
I
like
heard it.
I was like, oh okay, well I didn't hear that.
So that was like our first incident with racism. Well, I wouldn't say first incident with racism, but first incident as a married couple with racism. Um, I mean, you've been racially profiled. Fort Smith again, oddly enough.
Oh yeah. Oh
Totally
man, shout out to the shoe store. I can't remember the exact.
totally different time period. We'd been married for a little bit
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that point. We're going on 8 years of marriage right now, so 10 years together. So
That was like
halfway
more
through,
embarrassing and
yeah,
also in your face. I'm doing this just because you're a black
right,
guy.
right, right. So like he was there shopping for shoes. He has huge size 15 feet, and that was one of the only places that sold that
Right,
size where you could just go to the store and get them and not have to order them online.
right.
So he had someone like helping him the whole time,
Yep.
and the guy like went to the back, got both the shoes, put them in the box. So we were like in line, getting ready to check out, and the manager, like it was a long line. There was like 5 or 6 people in line, and we were in the middle.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And also there was it was about 3 or 4 pairs of shoes. So
Did you? I thought it was just one, but
no, it was 3 or 4
whatever.
pairs of shoes, and because the fact that I have big feet, I buy a
Bulk.
couple. Yeah, I
Yeah.
buy a couple pairs, so I don't have to drive to Arkansas every time I need a pair of shoes.
Right.
But yeah, so wait, I'm sorry.
What is your story? But
Yeah, I'll let you tell it.
but so we were standing in line and was Malcolm?
No,
No,
we're just meeting.
it's pre Malcolm.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were standing in line and the manager walked up to him and was like, hey, can I check your box? Basically, like to make sure both shoes are in there and see what you have, basically. And then like we showed him and then he walked away.
Now the first thing, excuse me, I didn't mean to spit on you. The first thing I thought really, when he walked up, he's moving kind of fast. I seen him coming, but I didn't think anything about it. I'm standing in line to check out. So why do you gotta check my stuff for? I'm not stealing anything. There's nothing in these boxes. And your man handed me the boxes to send me to the front to check out. So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you only checked my boxes, I looked around because when the guy asked me, I was like, was there a problem? I looked behind me and see if there's people behind me, and everybody else had 2 or 3 boxes in their hands, and there's 2 or 3 people in front of us checking out. And I'm like, why you just stop me to check my boxes? So
Which at the time we didn't say that. I don't know why we
I'm
didn't
thinking
say
like,
that.
what's going on? So by the time he checked my stuff, I'm like, man, this fool just checked me because he thought I was stealing. I guess he thought I was gonna steal some shoes. And my first thought was like, man, throw these shoes on the ground and walk out.
Right. Like I don't know why we didn't say. I think I laughed like my wow laugh, but I don't know why we didn't say
I need them shoes
anything.
though.
Yeah.
I need them shoes, and I'm like, man. I just looked at the guy, he walked off. Basically, he was blatantly trying to let me know that he
Profiling.
thought I was trying
Yeah.
to steal some
Yeah.
shit. And it's like, bro, I didn't come in here to steal nothing. I don't know. This is the first time I've even been in this store. Let me get my stuff and go. You kind of pissing me off. We ain't never been back since though. I mean, I
Right.
refuse to spend my money with people that are in that that mind frame of all black people steal stuff.
Right.
We'll get into that too. We got
All
some
black
neighbors
people
like
are
that.
criminals.
All
Yeah,
black people are
that'll be
criminals.
that's the same episode.
Then
We're getting there. We're
we
getting
can
there.
probably bring that in at a later date. But we got some stuff for y'all. Don't worry, it's coming. All of it's coming.
I was gonna bring that up in this episode.
Were
So I
you?
was like,
You do your thing. Whatever. There's so much to talk about those people. It's not even funny. So
yeah,
it's kind of
that,
like,
that could be a whole episode
yeah,
in and
that's
of
a whole episode to
itself.
itself.
But
Yeah, the shoe thing. Yeah, that was pretty tough on me. I was kind of upset. And it's more like I'm thinking How do I get this guy back? Oh, just go home.
Just
Just
go
go
home.
home. How do I get this guy back?
But
Oh,
it
just
was
go
like
home.
upsetting that we spent money there and
Yeah, but that's what I needed
quite cheap.
those. It's like supply and demand. I mean, I needed those shoes.
Yeah.
Like I limped in there because my feet were killing me. I had those old shoes on so long. I needed to get them shoes off my feet and get some new ones on. And they had some cheap ones, and I needed to get them.
We're making Norman sound really good and not racist because all of our racist stories have been enforcement.
Yeah,
I
I wouldn't say Norman, Oklahoma is a racist city. I would
think they
consider.
try not to be, but I mean, there's bad eggs
Oh
everywhere.
yeah. There's bad eggs
Yeah.
everywhere. Sorry about the camera moving. There's bad eggs everywhere. Actually, we moved down to Norman 2 3 years ago,
hmm
and I'm actually from the South Side of Oklahoma City. So
We
to
moved here because our oldest, well, now our second oldest, um, was about to start high school and he was gonna have to go to Capitol Hill, which Oklahoma City public schools aren't the best.
no, especially Capitol Hill. I mean, sorry if you see this podcast and you went to Capitol Hill. You get offended by that. You know I'm telling you the truth.
And
It's one of
honestly,
the most
I mean,
roughest.
I wish we could do something about that, but I mean,
Well,
we're trying.
that's another episode. That's more.
That's another activist
Uh,
episode. But yeah, so he was gonna either have to go to Capitol Hill or we were going to have to fill out applications for like Southeast High School, which is a what's that
charter
called?
charter school.
Basically a charter school. It's
Yeah,
still considered
a
public.
magnet.
Magnet. There we go. So it's still considered public school,
That's
but
where I
it's
graduated
like
from.
right. He
Magnet,
went to Southeast.
intelligent, not really, but
So so like you have to have a certain grade point average to get
yes,
in
yeah,
there, and
three point two, I believe.
we were either gonna have to send him to Southeast or Capitol Hill or apply to Dove Charter School. And at that time, um, we were about to move to Tulsa. Um,
For a job. Yeah,
yeah, his job was actually in Tulsa or a small town right by Tulsa.
Pryor, Oklahoma.
So that week, I think that our oldest had to like start filling out applications for high school. Um, a job down here opened up within the parent company of where he was working in Tulsa, and he was like, "I'm gonna apply for this, even if I don't get it. Like, we're staying here." You know,
Yeah,
basically, because we had looked for houses in Tulsa. We were just having bad luck with selling our house here, finding houses in Tulsa, getting approved because our house wasn't selling here. It was
yeah. It was a
yeah, it
headache.
was a
It was a
headache.
nightmare headache.
So he was like, if I don't get this job, like we're staying here. So like basically just start looking for houses in Norman, you know.
True.
So I think the day you had close to the day he had his interview, we also had a showing on our house. This was all like in January or February of 2017. And so that week, I guess, like our house sold. We had to find a house to move into, get
Yeah.
approved, which was another circus. And then yeah, so we that's how we came to be in Norman, Oklahoma.
No, yeah. It's a great
But
city. Great city.
it is. It
It's
is.
got its bad points, just like any other city. But
Yeah.
bad points in suburban cities or annoying neighbors or
Rich people trying to
rich.
control everything and
Right,
not
stuff
caring
like
about
that.
other people,
Um,
you know?
it's the first time I've had an HOA.
Yeah.
That's annoying too.
Yeah.
So yeah, but see, you know what I'm saying? Growing up how you grew up, you're used to that.
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah.
if I go to work and pay for my home, don't bother me. I'm not
Right.
bothering you. I'm
I
paying
agree
my
with
bills.
that.
I'm
I
taking
agree
care of
with
my
that.
stuff. Don't worry about it. Over here, if your grass too long, they can your grass. They grass.
They've never complained about our
But that's what they do to other white people. White people complain about other white people's shrubs and
Right.
bushes
Right.
being not trimmed and stuff like that.
That's neighbor problems.
Yeah.
Our
But
HOA
they
hasn't bothered us, but our
no.
neighbors have bothered
But these are things they can go to the HOA about.
Okay.
Okay, let's get back on the racism thing. We're talking about HOA. Nobody cares about that.
Okay. So let's bring up. I think we should bring up our neighbors because
Oh, okay.
it's a long story. But I mean, we moved the very last day of February, so February 28th, 2017. We moved into
And this is after Trump's election,
right this
which was the
2017.
worst day of my adult life.
Lots of chocolate, Ben and Jerry's chocolate fudge brownie and red wine
Oh, we'll
consumed.
get on that story in just a second, because
So
all this stuff we're gonna touch on, where we
yeah, this
were,
this
what
is
we were
our
doing,
intro episode. Basically, we just wanted to share like a few
yeah,
stories,
yeah,
yeah, to be like, hey, this happens to people and it's not right. And I mean, I definitely get treated different if I'm out with my parents versus if I'm with my husband, you know?
absolutely, absolutely.
So I don't think people necessarily realize that. I think I mean, you don't have to if you aren't
Married
in,
to a person
yeah,
of color or in an
in
interracial
any
relationship.
type of mixed relationship.
Yeah, so this show is not just for white and black relationships. You
Right.
could be a white boy dating a black girl or a Mexican girl or Asian girl. It's this stuff not doesn't just
Happen to
reach
black and white.
black and
Right.
white couples.
Right.
We're on here just to talk through things. So just hey man, that's happening to them too. Oh man, that's happening to us too, man. So
Hmm.
the world is more alike than it is
Right.
different.
Right.
We just look different.
Right. And I think that's like our main message is we're trying to debunk, I guess, racism. Like people aren't any different. We're all humans, and the
Yeah,
only difference is like where we came from.
yes,
You know.
we all love, we all hate, we all have jealousy, we all have uh, anger,
Love.
love. I mean, I think I said love first.
I think
I don't know.
you do.
See how she just okay, whatever. My
I'm the
wife,
positive person
listen,
in this
listen,
relationship.
husbands. If your wife says you did it, you did it. So therefore, just
Right.
don't argue about
Don't
it. Just
argue.
move on. Like,
We're always right.
yeah,
No, but so we moved here February 2017, and March of 2017 we noticed at our neighbor's house that there was like a news station out there and a reporter, and he came up to us and he was like, "Hey, your neighbors over here have said there's been like an increase in break-ins within the this month." Like since basically since we moved in.
like
So
oh, okay, I
without
get it.
saying like because the reporter didn't know, but basically since we moved in, apparently our neighbors thought there had been an increase in crime in our neighborhood.
And they thought to call the news station.
Right, and the news station, I guess without them knowing or they weren't home or something, they came over to us and they're like, "Hey, have you noticed this like increase in crime?" And like Nick at the time, like he leaves his keys in his car unlocked at that time, and
Right.
we're like, "No, nothing, no." So like we were really confused, and then like when the guy walked away, we're like, "Oh," because these are the neighbors that also like when we first moved in. They had their Trump sticker on all their vehicles. They had their rebel flags hanging in their
Confederate
garage, and they
flags
would stand outside with their garage open in front of said flags and glare at us
the whole
the
time.
whole
Wouldn't
time we were
wouldn't speak.
outside. Yeah.
Now I'm a type of guy that's always been real neighborly type, and my neighbors
Hmm.
were standing outside. Hey, what's going on?
Right.
Speak. I was always taught that way to be polite to people and
To be neighborly.
neighborly and stuff like that. And I mean, they wouldn't hurt my feelings. Just something I noticed, like, oh, I spoke to them twice, and they never raised their hand. They just kept staring. They would look at
Yeah.
me dead in my eye and wasn't speaking. Now, to me,
That's
and
rude.
where I come from, that's rude. Like, so if you speak, especially if you speak twice. Now, the first time you could probably just chalk it up to they didn't hear me or something like that. But then if
Didn't
you
you wave
and then I
though?
waved twice,
And
and
he
they're
was
standing there
staring
with their
at
beers in
us,
their hand, just sitting
so
there staring. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, okay, well, where I'm from, if you stare at somebody too long, that means you want to get at them. That's when you want to fight. So I'm like, oh, they must want some trouble or something because all I'm out here doing is cutting my grass. I mean, I don't understand why they're staring at me and mean mugging me for no reason, standing in front of these Confederate flags, which everybody knows what that means. So if you
Do
are
they?
a
I don't feel like
that's what I'm
everyone
saying.
knows what
I'm
that
about to get
means.
at them because if you listen to this podcast and if you have some questions or whatever, eventually we'll have all of our web pages up and everything to where
Hmm.
you guys can
Interact with
interact with
us.
us and
Yes.
ask questions, and if we'll read what you got to say and then
Like
response to
definitely
you.
when you see this video, comment on it, and we'll get back with you if you have any questions for sure.
Absolutely, to the best of our knowledge. If we don't know, we're not scared to say we don't know. We'll figure it
I
out.
research a lot, so I will look it
She's
up.
way smarter than me. Once you'll figure this out as further as this goes.
So that happened. Then, I mean, the rebel flag thing was like a constant, pretty much.
Constant, yeah.
So
It's more
yeah,
of a subtle. How you say that?
intimidation, I
Maybe
guess.
trying to
Trying,
intimidate
yeah,
people, or you're trying to be passive aggressive about.
stick your chest out without being
Right.
in your face,
Yeah,
I guess,
because
about it.
they seem like the guy, the husband, seems like a really small dude that overcompensates and he like literally
He
he's
is a
probably
small
barely
person. He
he's
is
barely
short.
taller than my wife, and my wife's pretty short.
Pretty short. Yeah.
And so if you're
Not saying
intimidated,
there's anything wrong with
I'm
short
not.
guys.
No,
This guy, however, has a problem with it.
I don't. His size is just his size to me. I don't really.
Right.
I don't care. Like I don't care what you look like or your size. I'm just looking at the fact of
How you act and
how
how
you
you treat
act.
other people,
They want to let their children play with our kids.
which we won't either at this point.
At this point now, but
Yes.
that time we didn't know that they were telling their children what they were telling them,
Right.
and they were making sure
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
stayed away from us. And then I'm like, we got a kid, them in the same age as yours, so it'd be cool for them to grow up and
Right.
be
Right.
cool. But
Yeah. Their youngest is 2 years older than our 5 year old.
yeah, so he's 6 or 7.
So yeah, when we first moved in, I think Malcolm was 2,
Hmm.
so he was probably like 4. But so yeah, that happened, and then like fast forward, our teenager was outside fixing his car stereo, and he was only out there for
Maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15
10,
minutes at the
20
most.
minutes.
At the most.
Because like we didn't even hear him. We didn't even know what he was out there doing. We didn't even know he was outside. So he comes inside. He goes to bed actually, or starts getting ready for bed, and our dog starts barking. I don't even think I heard the doorbell.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't know.
So like the doorbell rang. Well, our dog started barking, and I guess Nick Jr. heard it, and he went down there, and then like he came in our room, and he was like, yeah, I just want to let you know that was the cops." And we're like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, when I was outside, I was fixing my car stereo, and our neighbor was out there, and he walked out there. He walked out there on his cell phone. He was like glaring at our teenager, and he got on the phone. The whole time he was on the phone, he was glaring with them, and then he walked back inside. And then Nick finished up doing what he was doing, went back inside, didn't think anything of it, and then the cop showed up, and he was like, "Yeah," he said I was being like disturbing the peace or something like that. Uh, I don't even think he gave him a warning. He was just, hey, your neighbor had a problem with this. Like,
Right.
yeah.
To add further context to this, there has been a lot of things in the news about police shootings. People calling the cops
Well,
on black
that was
folks.
a different time they called the cops.
Well, no, I'm talking about this is the reason why I'm upset.
Right, right.
Uh, White people using the cops for weapons
It's like
against black people to
scare
control them, to
tactic.
scare them,
Yeah.
or something like that. And my tensions are already high about police anyway. Coming from where I come from, I never really trusted the police. I've never really, got not to say get along with them, but I didn't go out of my way to talk to them. They didn't go out of their way to talk to me.
Like
It's
for
the,
example, like I've never seen a police weapon. I before I married my husband, I'd never been pulled over by the cops.
mm,
How many times have you had a weapon pulled on
by the
you
police
by the police?
that I can physically and visibly remember at least 3 times.
Right.
Police have pulled their weapons and pointed them at me.
So
Get on the ground, lay down, put
right.
your the same routine that you might
What
even see on cops.
like what were you doing though to make them do that?
The first time was walking down the street and almost got hit by a different white guy. That when that white guy when I got upset about the guy almost hit me because when he drove past me, his rearview mirror brushed my arm like it touched my shirt, so he almost hit me.
Mhm.
So I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Young teenager, you know, what I'm saying there was a couple f words going." This fool gets out of his car, pulls a 380 on me, just damn near puts it in my face. Uh, so I'm like,
So
"Oh,
who
okay."
called the cops? Did he call the
I
cops
don't know
or
who called the cops. They
told
showed up.
me somebody
I
called the
don't know.
cops?
Somebody called the cops, but he stood there on us with guns pointed at me, and at the time it was my baby's mom, and she walked off, but he kept pointing the gun at me. So I'm like, okay, whatever, man. You gonna point the gun at me, whatever. The police roll up. He puts the gun in his back belt, and backs up a little bit and points at me and says, hey, these guys are causing trouble. The police pull their guns and point them at me, tell me to get down on the ground and put my arms out and then they put handcuffs on me, put me on the car, put me in the back of the car, ask me what gang I'm from, all kind of stuff like that. All the while, the dude pulled a gun on me after trying to run me over in the street. That was probably one of my first um,
Interaction.
interactions with the police with guns. I mean, I've had interactions with police my whole life, but not like that.
Right.
And it was something I didn't even. It wasn't even. I was nowhere in the front. Like wasn't wrong. Like the guy pulled a gun on me. You guys pulled up. I'm saying that guy has a gun, and you're gonna pull me in the car. You throw me on the ground, put me in the back, ask me questions, and then you just let me go. I never was arrested.
Right.
That makes no sense. Like you do all that stuff and ask a bunch of questions, and nobody gets arrested. But even the guy that pulled the gun illegally, I think, because he wasn't any threat.
And it wasn't an open carry state at that
No, it was
time
not.
like it is
Mm-mm.
now.
No, it is now. It's even worse now.
Yeah. So like that happened to our child. Like I think he was 16 or 17 at the time. And I posted like that memory popped up in 2020 of like when we bought our house, right? So I posted that memory like, oh, I love my house, I love my neighborhood, except for
These certain
these
neighbors.
certain neighbors. And then when I did that, I had just befriended our other neighbors that live to the left of them.
Mm-hmm. Next door,
And
basically next door
yes,
to the south.
yes. So she commented on that picture and she's like, "Oh, that sounds similar. Like that sounds like some interactions we've had."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Really?" Because they're an all-white family except they adopted an African American son.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 4 kids as well. Two boys, 2 girls, and one of their sons is black. So she was telling me some stuff, and I was like, wow, you know? She was like, I used to watch her kids. They were cool with us until like first day we adopted him, and or first day he even visited. I don't even think he was adopted at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like first day he visited, they switched up on him.
I mean, switched up.
Yeah. So
That's when they
um,
hung the rebel flags
that's when the flags
that
came up.
we've seen when we moved in.
Right. So, and I mean, we saw the Trump sticker when we were looking at the house, but I mean, at that point, it was just like, ah, they're Trump supporters. Like, it wasn't, oh, they're racist Trump supporters. If right,
Right.
you
Exactly,
know,
exactly.
so
This is before all the other things happened
right.
throughout his
This was before
administration.
Charlottesville and all of that.
Right.
So that happened. And I was like, okay, so I'm not wrong. I'm not crazy in thinking these neighbors are racist.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know?
Something I
And
knew immediately, but
right.
I'm not going to just throw that
Call it
label
out.
on. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
some more research
Right,
done.
right, right. So the main story that scared me was she had said that their son, I guess, was playing. He plays outside all the time. He's a kid. He's a middle school kid. Like, he's a kid. Um, so he was playing outside, and I don't know what he did to constitute this or cause this, but the wife ran up on him and was like, uh, hey, I basically think you're stealing from me. And my husband like shoots people for that. If we catch you stealing, we're gonna shoot you. And I was
Yeah,
like, whoa,
mind you, this is an adult
this is an
talking to
adult
a
talking to a
baby.
child. Yes.
Kid was what,
So
5, 6 years old, maybe.
no, no, no. This was just like a few years ago. So he was still a teenager, but not like
Are
a.
you sure?
He
We
might
ain't.
have
We,
been. I don't know. I don't know how old
I
he
think he
was.
was a kid, baby, a small baby kid.
That was when he hit their car with his bike.
Okay.
Anyway, but whatever. He's still a kid. Whether he was like 5 to 13,
Okay.
in that range. But so he's a kid, and I was like, wow. So that like made me more scared, for my kids. And then we had an incident where the neighbor to the right side of them, they own a business, not the neighbor to the right, but the racist neighbors,
We'll call them the racist neighbors.
for lack of a better term.
Right, right, right.
They own their own business, so they sell like large equipment, like farming equipment,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Um, so he always has, well, sometimes has this huge like gooseneck trailer
30 foot.
that he brings into our cul-de-sac. And the neighbor to the right of him, he had parked it in his driveway, but of course it's big. So it was like in the driveway, hanging out in the
Let's
street.
fix this. I'm sorry. Something's falling.
So it was like in his driveway, in the sidewalk, hanging out into the cul-de-sac, to where if the kids were playing, they could possibly like have to go around it or whatever. So the neighbors to the right of them called the cops on them, and I guess they got a ticket for it. I don't know. I didn't call the cops on them, but that same night they posted up again outside. Um, but they sat on their trailer, and I don't remember why I went outside, but our other teenager, our actual oldest now,
Yeah.
we adopted basically
Hmm.
his younger
My
brother.
youngest brother.
So he is a little bit older than our actual oldest child.
Yeah. Hmm.
So um, he was outside talking to the neighbor to the right of them and then also the neighbor to the left of them. And they were out in our front driveway. And then the racist neighbors were sitting on their trailer. And I went outside to like get something, noticed the situation, didn't think much of it, got in my car, got something, talked to Zach a little bit, and then went back inside. Um, and then when Zach actually came back in, he said something to me like she came over here and was like, "You probably need to move your truck before the cops get called on you too." And our this was right after we bought our boat, so we had our truck like parked catty corner in front of it
Yeah.
to block it because we didn't have a trailer hitch, not a hitch, but a trailer lock on
Right,
it.
right. That's exactly. You have to.
So we were parking it in front of it so people couldn't just like hook up to it and run off of it. And she approached our oldest and was like, "Hey, you need to move your truck, or the cops are gonna get called on you too." And he basically said, "Hey, this isn't my truck. This is my parents' truck." He was very respectful about it. So if you want it moved, you need to talk to my parents. She never talked to us. So I was just like, okay, whatever, you know. I was mad that she approached him and didn't approach me.
Right. Once again, like I said in the beginning of this long story,
Hmm.
that she only bothers the children.
She only bothers the children or the men, which can't fight her. Like can't do anything to her.
True.
So that happened. I was like, whatever. I don't like that she talked to you. She needs to talk to me or your brother, but whatever. But then the next morning, the cops showed up. We actually filmed this interaction because it was during the George Floyd protest. Like that day, people were marching in Norman at the police station because of what was
Oh, that's
happening.
true. That's right.
Yes, what
That's
was
right.
happening all over the world. And so they called the cops on us that day. And the cops showed up, and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, we knew what it was for, and we knew who called the cops because she had threatened to do so. Um, but so the cops showed up, realized we were a black family, and
Yes, we accidentally left the garage door open the night before,
right.
and let me say this: if you are a white person that listens to this podcast or just catches it or whatever, and you hear me say that I support Black Lives Matter and that hurt your feelings,
No, no.
no,
Like,
wait, I'm just saying that's
I,
just part of it. I'm sorry if you don't like that. I'm so sorry.
no.
No, I'm not. But the police
I
officer
would
seen it.
say, like, educate yourself.
Now you can't educate them. If you don't know what Black Lives Matter means by now,
Right,
you don't want to know. So therefore, since you don't want to know,
right. Okay. I would say this is why this is
this is my
called
white
mixed
half.
this yes, this is why this is called mixed emotions because you're going to get the like white side of things and the black side of things. And I'm not saying both of those are monolithic cultures or anything or that I speak for all white people or he speaks for all black people.
Right, right,
We're not
absolutely.
doing that. But I would say if you don't know what Black Lives Matter stands for and you're getting your information from news sources that um,
Fit your narrative
fit your agenda or
or
narrative.
agenda or what you want to think about black
Right, right,
people.
right. You
Yeah,
probably should get your information from the source or from a scholarly, peer reviewed article, something like actual news, like not just opinions, actual news.
and not your president.
Right, not the president, no
That's
matter
y'all's
who he
president.
may be.
He's the president of the United States, but
Right now, yes,
for now.
for now. But I would say get your information either from the source, like go to Black Lives Matter and look up what they stand for, look up their mission statement. A lot of these protests have been peaceful until it gets dark at night and like
Who knows who's starting this
we
trouble?
don't a lot of videos and pictures I have seen are like different groups like the Proud Boys and stuff like that that are actually like breaking into these buildings and
Oh,
setting
we know what Proud
fires
Boys
and
are.
looting. But they're taking
Surprise.
they're posing as Black Lives Matter people or not even as them, but they're covered up so you can't tell who they are.
Trying to control the narrative.
But then on their pages they're taking credit for it.
Hmm.
And a lot of the looters don't happen to be black people. So, I mean, you can believe what you want to believe on that. But I would just say educate yourselves, please. Like, if you have questions for us, I would be glad to do the research for you, even.
Right, right.
You
Why
know?
not?
Um,
It's not hard
it's not.
to want to be racist
It's actually
or
harder to be ignorant than it is to be informed in today's times because
right.
most of
Oh
us
my
have
god.
like smartphones that you can just look up stuff,
Keyword smart.
Smart, yes. So if you don't want to do the research or if you
Or what you find out
what
doesn't fit your narrative, don't be
or if
mad.
you want to post what you have found and we can discuss it.
Right.
That
Absolutely.
would be fine too. Um but anyway, so they called the cops on us in the midst of the George Floyd protest. We had our garage door up. We hung our Black Lives Matter flag in basically protests to their rebel flag.
Mm-hmm.
Flags. They have
Flags,
they have more than one.
plural.
So the cop shows up, he sees my husband. I record this interaction because of what is going on in the world. The cop sees my husband, he's like, "Hey, how are you
Oh yeah,
today?"
he backed up way far. But I usually that
this
was
this is also during COVID.
he backed
So
up. Yeah,
yes.
he's a young
Was it
kid.
during COVID?
I don't think so.
It might have
No,
been.
yeah, George Floyd. Yes, 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 yes.
I don't know. He didn't have a mask on.
He didn't have a mask on, but
This
this is
might have
during this
been this
time.
might have been pre like mask mandates
Right, right,
thing.
right. But that's the COVID-19's been out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was during 2020. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
COVID
Yes.
19 was a thing. So he comes. He might have just been socially distancing. I don't know, but he was like, "Hey, we got a call that from your neighbors that they don't like where your truck is parked because it's blocking the sidewalk, or
Yes, that's
something
all he said.
to that effect."
Exactly what he said.
Yeah. And then he was like, I know exactly why you're parking it that way. I know it's so people won't like link up to your boat and just take it. And my husband was like, that's exactly why I'm doing it. And he was like, I just want to let you know that your neighbors don't like it. So I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm not even going to give you a warning. Just know they don't like it. So we'll probably continue to be called out. And that
Right.
was like, okay,
That was it.
thank you.
That was it.
Have a nice day. I think he said they didn't tell me who they were, and we were like, oh, we know who it is. But so that night, this is our first interaction with them, like talking to them as adults. Um, my my husband went over to talk to. Sorry, our baby's waking up. My husband went
And yelling
over.
both ways, I think.
That's fine. My husband went over to talk to the neighbor that's on the right of them.
Just call him old man. Old man.
The old man neighbor. He's a cool old man. He's 80. He's awesome. So he went over there to talk to him. He was having problems with trees or fence line. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something in his garden and trees. But he's real big into
it. It was petty.
Yeah, but he's real big into plant life, gardening and stuff like that.
Landscaping. So he was having a problem with them about where their property line is and if their trees are too close together and whatever. So he was showing Nick like, hey, I think this tree is on my property, whatever. So they were out there in front of the house on the sidewalk, and they were actually in front of the old man's house.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And she came out there on the cell phone, I'm assuming with her husband, and started yelling at our 80-year-old neighbor and was like mad at him about him calling the cops on them the night before. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I'm carrying my baby at this point, too.
Oh, don't let her not tell you that she bust out the front door, ran across the street.
Because they have a tendency, like the husband in the relationship will talk to the females in the neighborhood. And the wife will talk to the men in a harassing,
so basically it's always
form.
Yeah, it's always a protected situation.
Right.
So if a man approaches another female, he's not afraid that she's gonna hurt him. And if a woman approaches a different man from the neighborhood, that woman's not gonna get. So they always do stuff in that way, and it's kind of they always mess with kids and the opposite
They're
sex.
always in a position of power. Let's put it that way. They always control the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out there like, no, you're not gonna talk to my husband. You're not gonna harass. Hey, baby. You're not gonna harass our 80-year-old neighbor about parking problem, whatever. So I went over there and I was like, oh, that's funny because someone called the cops on us too. And she was like, oh, I don't know who did that. You might want to ask Joe, which is the old man. And I was like, Joe didn't call the cops on us. Like, we're talking to him right now. If he did, he would have been, like he wouldn't call the cops on us. He would just be like, "Hey, I don't think you should park that way. Can you move it,
And
please?"
even if he did, I think he would tell us
Yeah, yeah.
because he doesn't care. He's too old
No,
to
like he
care.
doesn't care at all. So, I was like, he didn't call the cops on us, you know. And she like stuttered a little bit more, and she's like, "Well, if I get a ticket, then everybody should get a ticket."
Bam,
And
told
I
on himself.
was like, "Oh, well, we didn't call the cops on you, you know."
Right, it wasn't us. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I also said something to the effect like, if you have a problem with us or how one of our cars is parked or anything really, you need to come to the adults. Like, you need to come to my husband or me and address it. Like, don't ever talk to my kids again. Because this is after, like, I found out they had threatened to shoot a kid. We have a track record at this
Yeah, they
point.
bully children.
Right. We have a track record of not only that, just like we know you're racist, you know? So don't talk to anyone in my family that's black,
Yeah,
basically, you
because the
know?
only person that's not of color over here is you.
Is me.
You're about
Right.
the whitest white person I've
I
ever
am.
met.
I am 100% European, everybody. So that happened, and then he stepped in because, yeah, whatever.
She's about to fly off the handle, y'all. She's about to
I,
beat her like she beats me at home.
I don't beat you, but like
I'm blinking
I
twice.
have a he's in the sunken place. So so like I I'm a really nice person, guys. I really am, but I don't have a tolerance for you messing with my kids, and I don't have a tolerance for racism or just not being a kind human being. Like, the world is hard enough as it is.
Man,
You don't have to be mean to each other. You like, if you're racist, cool. Be
be
racist
that.
somewhere else, please. Like, don't involve me in your racism. Or my kids, please. So that happened, and from there it just has steadily escalated.
Escalated, yeah.
Yeah. Um, their kid has recently went around and said that black people should all still be slaves, and
Yes, yes.
he was talking to another little kid on our block, and we didn't hear what he said, but the other little kid went, "Stop saying that, like, black people are the same as you and me, or the same
Yeah,
as
the other
white
child was saying that.
people."
The other
Right.
7-year-old kid was telling
They're 7 year
their
old.
7-year-old that there's nothing different about black people. They're all the same. They're all no different. Now,
So
one
thank you
child,
to those parents. They're
right? Yeah,
doing
big ups to
something
those
right.
guys because they're teaching their kids just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all of us should teach our kids that
Right.
there's nothing different between races and this and that. That child was telling him that out
Right.
loud where everybody can hear him, but then the other kid was going, "No, that's not true. My mom,
Like, stop saying
yeah,
that.
stop
You
saying
know?
that stuff."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?" Oh,
Right. And I mean, at 7 years old, like, who knows what a slave is? I asked my 5 year old this yesterday morning. I was like, "Hey, what's a slave?" And he was like, "It's coffee, mom, duh." You know? Like, I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what a slave is." So that also shows I'm a coffee addict, but whatever.
absolutely.
But I was just like, all right, like, you're not taught that in school until you're
Middle
not
school,
taught about slavery until middle
middle
school, I
school,
would
middle
say.
school.
Yeah. So it was like, why does this 7 year old even know what that
Because his
is?
parents are
Yeah.
teaching it to him.
But then when our other neighbor confronted him about it, I was like, "Hey, your kid is saying this to the other kids in the neighborhood." He was like, "Oh, I don't." He like got embarrassed and was like, "I don't know where he learned that
I'm
from."
so embarrassed.
Right. Like,
Clutch my pearls.
I don't know where he learned that
Shut your ass up.
from. And I'm like, yeah, like, that's not something school's gonna teach you. Um, so needless to say, like, we've had a lot of,
Run-ins with these people. There's more to come. We're not
well,
gonna be able to get
yeah,
it all in on this session, but
right.
we'll bring it back and talk a little bit more about this on the next episode.
Yes,
But
because it's an ongoing situation. Like, we've had meetings with the police department.
we'll let you know about
We're
that
having hopefully a mediated
meeting.
meeting with all three of our families: the family that's adopted, the black kid and our family and them. So we're supposed to have a meeting.
We'll definitely keep you
So
guys updated. So please
yes,
tune in
yes.
for that next episode because that'll probably be the exact next episode that we do.
Hopefully.
Hopefully within this week or so, then we'll get you guys up to speed on what's going on, and
Right.
so to show how to combat people like this and try to keep them in their spot, and we stay in our spot, and everybody be happy.
Right. In a legal,
Legal way to do it,
healthy, not
not
beating each
sneak
other
up on the guy
up.
with ski mask and take care of him in the middle of the night type of deal.
Right,
I didn't
exactly.
say that
No.
because I don't
Yeah.
do things like that,
No.
but I don't. Hey, I believe
Former
I've thought
former
about it.
life, yeah.
I've thought about it.
So we're trying to handle this in a correct way, I guess you could say. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Basically, this episode was just to let you know, hey, we're in an interracial relationship, obviously, and these are some of the things that we have to go through. And I mean, we shouldn't. Like, interracial relationships and marriage was that 70 years ago that it was Loving versus Virginia.
I can't remember the date on
Look
that.
up, look up that Supreme Court case. So that was at least 50 to 70 years ago. I think that it's been okay for white and black people to be married, or anybody that's of a different race to be married. Um, but we just wanted to like point out, like, hey, this stuff still
It's still a problem.
happens.
It's still a problem,
Yeah.
and we'll get deep inside this subject because uh,
It's ongoing.
it's ongoing, and also it's not just between whites and blacks. I mean, black folks can't stand to see mixed couples either.
Right.
Some black.
Some,
I'm
yeah.
not saying we're monolithic or whatever, but I've read into a few ladies or something say something to me. Oh, you date white girls? Oh, you married to a white? Oh, yeah. These problems are gonna come, and we'll talk about them when we when, on the next episodes, and we'll just go through how we feel about it and how I feel about it, and we'll just keep on trucking.
Right.
Of course, I'm a truck driver. So when you hear me say
Keep
stupid
on
stuff like that,
trucking.
when you hear me say stupid stuff like that, I'm getting tired,
All
and
right.
and it's time to get to bed. But we're gonna go ahead and close this out,
Right.
and
But I mean, like we said before, if you have any comments, any questions, please like put them below this video. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can and with the most information as we can. If you want updates, obviously when we post new episodes, you'll have to subscribe to our channel.
right,
Which
please
is
subscribe.
that'd
Please,
help us out. And
the more people
also,
subscribe, the more this message gets out.
right, and also like if you have any topics that you want us to discuss, we have a list that we're going to. One of the main reasons I started this is because like when the George Floyd thing happened, a lot of my friends were reaching out to me like, hey, how can I show him an ally? What do I do like with my black neighbors to show them I support them? So like that's one of the reasons we started this.
Y'all hear the baby?
This is her.
When we say this is real, when we say this is real life, this is real life. We're not playing. Like we're normal people having a conversation about real subjects.
Right.
Straight up.
Right.
We're gonna hurry up and get off of here, but something you're gonna hear me say at the end of every episode is, "Hey,
Yes.
get a black friend.
Yes.
Get a black friend.
And
And
be kind
if
to
you
one
black,
another.
go find a white friend,
Yes.
and you'll figure it out.
Yes.
And any other race,
Talk about have hard conversations,
without punching each other in the
without
face.
punching each other in the face. But what I was trying to say is if you have topics you want us to discuss, like leave those in the comments as well. We'll put it
We'll
on
definitely
the list
address them.
and we'll address
We would
it.
love to address them.
Right. So
let us know.
Thank you guys. Please subscribe to our channel, our podcast, whatever. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media platforms. But thank you guys for listening to our first video.
Yes, sir.
Have a good night.